Alright folks and fiends, as you might have noticed by the thumbnail, by a very, very slim margin, Tarrasque is our winner by only about 50 votes. Even with weighing the Patreon votes, it was a very close race, so I'll be doing the runner-up creatures next time, so don't worry if your favorite didn't make it. That said, before we begin this art venture, I wanted to announce that I'm gonna try streaming again. It's something that I wanted to get more comfortable with, so to start off, I'm gonna stream one of my favorite childhood games, Pokemon Dark Souls. Yes, the From Software made a monster collecting game. It was a rough experiment gone wrong, but somehow also amazing. Not to mention, it is beautifully cursed.
Oh, why don't you just play with some of your monster friends, freak?
Alright, okay, geez. So, join us on Twitch and hopefully also YouTube to witness this bizarre moment in gaming history every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Alright, so let's get rolling. But this first roll, I was afraid of whatever I would get. It's none other than heckin' Garfield. It fits the Tarrasque too well. So, nihilistic cat that only hungers and cares not for the people around him, and then Orange Godzilla. There was never a more perfect union. Thankfully, there are plenty of monster references found throughout the comics and animated series, so I didn't have to go in blind, at least. As tempting as it was to just go for the I'm sorry John aesthetic, which is very choice, very beautiful, I felt it was much more challenging to stick to the more dated comic style. Personally, the original style is actually a lot more horrifying, to me at least. Everything just feels so bloated and proportionally weird, with distended mouths and huge grated teeth. Things that are unintentionally unsettling are usually the worst offenders. Besides, Heathcliff is the better orange cat anyway. I don't care if that's a spicy take. We stand for non-sequitur trash ape in this house. He is the voice of our generation, and nothing can stop him. Nothing. It's canon. Anyway, I hope this Garfield Tarrasque turned out okay. It's very starting off on a wonderful curse note. Okay, thankfully the next roll will cool us down a bit from that previous encounter, which happens to be 75 Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau first gained ground as an elegant architectural style in the late 19th century in Europe and reached its peak in printed media before crashing at the start of the First World War. The most famous pioneer of the style being the Czech artist Alfons Mucha, whose foothold on the European advertising space at the time can't be understated. His work was literally everywhere. During its conception, Art Nouveau was considered a rebellious style and rejected the rigid academic art for more surrealist, organic lines that resembled natural vines. Translating a rather calming and airy style by today's standard into a Tarrasque was rather difficult. There aren't that many monsters to draw reference to in the catalog of Art Nouveau, so I had to kinda wing most of it. The result, I would say, is passable, but it's not gonna blow the doors off any art house anytime soon. But that's partially why I do this, to dip a toe into styles that I'm not necessarily good at, and also to learn new things. So, anyway, quickly moving on from this one. Our next contender is number 95, Psychonauts. Holy crap, what a game. Scott Campbell's mastery of shape language just blows my mind, and that works. The energy works well for a game about blasting brains. Creatures in Psychonauts are often highly abstracted with crazy colors, crescent moon limbs, chunky fingers, and blocky heads. But the most notable aspect of these chunky designs are the baked-in expressions. A baked expression is usually a term when creature facial prosthetics restrict how well an actor can emote outside of one emotion. Given the limited poly count of the PS2 era games, this was a godsend to make characters immediately readable with limited facial movement. So, carrying this over, I really wanted to emphasize the Tarrasque's toothy maw and unending hunger by having its face literally drag across the ground like a massive spade, its head so heavy it's forced to perpetually push it from behind using its rather dainty legs. It actually baffles me how canonically noodly the Tarrasque's limbs are. I never really noticed this until this style challenge, but man, they really wouldn't support a creature that big. Anyway, I kind of went with the newer, like cleanly rendered Psychonauts 2 style more than the old, but I hope I did a decent enough job, and I really wouldn't mind returning to the style. It's wonderful and great. Next on the chopping block is 53, the myth, the man, the legend, Dave McKean. Responsible for the nightmares of many small children, I'm sure. This mixed media god is famous for lending his artistic talents to Neil Gaiman's work, most notable of which is the SANDMAN series. Now, in the mid-80s, digital artistry was still a fledgling art form, so traditional artists had to get crafty to work around its early flaws. So to create the covers for the early SANDMAN comics, Mean Bean Dave McKean decided to build a massive wooden rig around his canvas and fill the cubbies with cursed memorabilia, and then just take a picture. What a lad. I, being of sound mind and small budget, am not going to attempt that. Instead, we'll recreate the styles of his later works and more heavily incorporate digital mixed media. I know that's a cop-out, but you peeps out there are welcome to try it out yourself. I am far too green to attempt that much McKean. I think for this Tarrasque, I really wanted to emphasize the more bizarre and abstract expressions McKean often pulls into his work. His more nightmarish creatures have maddening spirals and massive teeth that work well for the Tarrasque. I hope I at least got close to capturing a fraction of his insane masterworks. I highly suggest checking them all out. Okay, forgive me for this, but this last roll I could have never seen it. It's Persona, folks. Oh god, I don't think anyone will fault me for saying this series has some weird monsters. And some of the most notable ones I for sure can't show without being slapped hard by TOS violations. Great! The reason for this is primarily that these creatures are shadows of one's psyche and are the worst of the human spirit has to offer, so yep, alright, cool. Also, it's incredibly hard to pin down the Persona creature style. Persona 5 has that spirited high contrast pop art flair with monster designs that can range from horny to abstract, to horny, to classic mythos, to horny mythos. You get the idea. I would say the grand majority of the personas and shadows are mostly humanoid with light to garish, lewd undertones. So, after considering all the options out there, I felt it was only just to give the mighty Tarrasque the rehydrated Ganon treatment. Look, if there was any series to do this for, this is probably the one. Just when you thought seducing the dragon was the highest bar, the Bara-esque stomps in. I'm not sure what energy I just put out into the world, but, well, it's out there now. You're welcome, I guess. Thanks again, fiends, for joining me on another art-filled adventure full of twists and unexpected turns. And as always, a massive thank you to my patrons that keep this ship afloat. Good lord, you guys are champions through it all. If I ever ascend to Deep 1 status, I am teaching you all Eldritch Blast, let chaos reign. And one last reminder to go check out the Pokesouls game stream on Sunday. It is a hidden gem that deserves to be shared with the universe. Have a good one, folks, and see you next time.